I recognize it's Old Home Week for a lot of us.
It's like homecoming.
And that's great. Conversation is great, and it's good to see a lot of familiar faces this morning.
Ed, is your mic on?
Should be.
It didn't sound like it.
No, I think mine's okay now.
You're good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
So at this time, we will officially call the Board of County Commissioners meeting to order for Thursday, May 10. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer? Here. Commissioner Allen?
Here.
Commissioner Klicka?
Here.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Here.
Commissioner Brown?
Here.
And Chairman Eilert.
Here. All are present. We do have a quorum. Would you join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those who are in attendance this morning, if you have a noise-making device, would ask that you turn it to silent mode or off so as not to interfere with our electronic communications. We do have 3 presentations, recognitions to present this morning. We'll do so at this time. I'm going to ask Dan Goodman and Karen Weber to join me at the podium. Dan is director of one of our Human Service Department agencies, and Karen is vice chairman of the Area Agency on Aging. So welcome to both of you. And I know you have some others with you, and they're welcome to stand up and join us at the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, please do come on up. The proclamation this morning is to publicize the fact that May is Older Americans Month. This was established back in 1965 by federal law, and since that time there's been special emphasis upon programs and services that would have a positive impact on our senior population. And so I'm pleased on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners to recognize those citizens who are volunteers and assist us in moving forward the programs and the activities that are part of the aging department. So I'll present this proclamation to Karen, and she may have some comments, and Dan, you may have some. But
thank you,
please.
Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and your support of aging issues in Johnson County, Kansas. I'm thrilled to be here today with other members of the Johnson County Commission on Aging. I'd like to take a moment to introduce my esteemed colleagues. Katie Hoffman is here today. She's not only a member of the Commission on Aging, but also the Silver-Haired Legislature here in Kansas. Also, Jerry Ireland, a past member of the Commission on Aging, current Silver-Haired Legislator member. Dan Goodman is the director of our Area Agency on Aging. We have Gary Scott, who is a member of the Kansas Silver-Haired Legislature. Also this morning, Kim Mann is with us as a member of the Commission on Aging, and Rob Givens and Dale Warman. Thank you all. And while I won't take up a lot of your time, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for your support of aging issues in Johnson County. In my 23 years of work and volunteerism here in Johnson County, my work on the Commission on Aging is my most favored volunteer work. I've thoroughly enjoyed the past 6.5 years. We're a very active volunteer organization, and each year we identify priorities for the year, those things that we want to really focus on and spend a lot of time researching in individual committee settings. The 5 things, and I hope you'll have a few moments to take a look at our 5 legislative priorities for 2018. Item number 1, we are supporting a timelier processing of Medicaid applications in Kansas, and better training of those state employees who are processing the applications for the entire state. All of those applications are now being funneled through a clearinghouse in Topeka. And while it's the easier, softer thing might be to point the finger at Maximus, the provider with whom the state has contracted, I think that's just not an acceptable answer for a great state like Kansas. So we're really encouraging and trying to identify ways that we might be able to assist in helping the training of those state employees who are working hard to process all long-term care Medicaid applications for the state. We also have been very active in supporting a guardianship assistance program in Kansas and taking advantage of some federal funding that the state already takes advantage of for its foster care and adoption services. This is a very important item that we've been working on for over 4 years now. We've done a lot of due diligence and background research. 33 states are now participating in such a program, including all states surrounding Kansas. And so House Bill 2754, we would urge you to keep your eye upon that, Commissioners, if you would please. This is a guardianship assistance program in Kansas, and it fills a real needed gap. We have foster care and adoption care, and we're seeking to implement a program in Kansas that would provide a nominal source of funding for those family members who have stepped up and assumed that legal liability and obligation of a guardian for a loved family member. We also support expanding Medicaid to include those Kansas at or below 138% of the federal poverty level. We support the approval of a dental therapist certification to serve those significantly underserved communities, primarily in the western part of the state. We support lower sales tax on food for our struggling citizens, and we supported the successful decision for implementation of the administrative case management. We value your time and your support. We feel greatly supported by our Johnson County Board of Commissioners, County Commissioners. We thank you for the proclamation this morning and for the service that you provide for the best county in the state, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan, did you have a comment?
Just brief, I'd just like to thank the Commission for the proclamation. Elder Americans Act provides a lot of services that benefit Johnson County's older residents, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Well, let me add, we have so many activities in Johnson County that are supported significantly by our senior population. And without their support, those programs would not be possible. One of them is the Meals on Wheels program, Catch a Ride, and other service programs that would not be possible without the support and the activities. And I was impressed yesterday. We had at the Veterans Treatment Court, part of that process is there are veterans, retired veterans or inactive military veterans who support that program and act as mentors to those who are going through the program. And many of those mentors are retired individuals, senior citizens. Again, another example of an important county program that would not be possible without the support, the active support of our senior citizens community. So thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Warman, you need to move this way. Come in front. All right, we got got more room over here, so keep moving this way.
Get more cameras, that's what I noticed.
Okay, all right.
You're my way.
Yeah.
I try hard.
Thank you. Keep up the good work, guys. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Wait, I have to see you, sir. And next, I'm going to ask Anush Fortipore to join me at the podium, as well as our planning director, Jay Leipzig. And we have a proclamation calling attention to Building Safety Month. And these two gentlemen are heavily involved in making sure that the activities that occur under the county's jurisdiction, building safety and workplace, home environment, meet public safety building codes as far as those facilities that we live in and work. So I'm pleased to present this proclamation, Anush, to you in recognition of your work and those in your department. Appreciate it very much. And Jay, thank you very much for your leadership also.
Thank you very much, sir.
And which one is going to?
Jay's going to start.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Jay Leipzig, Planning Development Codes Director. It's my sincere pleasure this morning to announce that May 2018 kicks off Building Safety Month across the United States, including Johnson County, Kansas. We are a regional leader in building code creation and adoption and refinement to the ICC, or International Code Council, and it's a chance to recognize those activities. This initiative today is sponsored by the International Code Council, along with its 64,000 members and professionals from the building construction, design, and safety communities to highlight the importance of building safety in our lives. This is an international campaign that highlights the importance of building safety, building codes, and officials who maintain them. Another note is Johnson County is fortunate enough to adopt the International Family of Codes, which is really an integrated group of code documents that work together to create the safest buildings that we possibly can. And I think Johnson County has always been very progressive in that aspect, and will certainly continue to do that. When you think of building safety, often you think of building codes, which is extremely important, but there are other aspects of it that oftentimes you may not think of, such as planning, which includes site design, setbacks. We also have the effective licensing of contractors working on the projects, and the licensing of those contractors, ensure that they're adequately trained and able to do that effectively. It's a very important aspect of it. So today I'm pleased to have several members of our team within the Planning, Development, and Codes Department. It's a dedicated, knowledgeable staff of professionals, including Deputy Director Paul Greeley. Where's Paul? Back there, okay. Deputy Paul Greeley, who has over 25 years of experience. Several planners, including Karen Miller, Jeff Millat, and Diane Wicklund. We also have contract licensing is also part of this as well. They're downstairs. It's a small group, so it's a busy time in the morning on a Thursday. In building inspections, we have Therese Laughlin, our code officer. We also have Mitchell Laughlin, our chief plans examiner. Misty Nelson, our permit tech, was not able to make it today. And Leslie Davis, our administrative assistant. Lastly, I wanted to introduce Anush Fortipore, our building official. Anush has over 22 years of experience in the building trades, which really kind of sets him apart. And he's a regional leader in this aspect, and he also has a few words for you.
Anush?
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. I had you in my house last week.
You did.
You let him in?
You did. I know. I was surprised. I was sweating. You know, like I was. Yeah.
Thank you. It was good.
Thank you.
Anyway, dear Board of County Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen, Building Safety Month is a public awareness campaign celebrated by many jurisdictions worldwide during the month of May for past 38 years to help individuals, families,
and businesses understand what it takes to create a safe and sustainable structure. The theme for 2018 Building Safety Month is the Building Code Save Lives. The campaign reinforces the need for adoption of the modern, regularly updated building codes, the strong and efficient system of code enforcement, and well-trained professional workforce to maintain the whole system. Building Safety Month brings attention to issues that are not regularly considered unless disaster strikes, says Dominic Sims, the International Code Council CEO. Modern codes and standards incorporated the latest technology and provide the safest, most resilient structure for our families and communities to protect against building failures such as hurricane, tornadoes, floods, high-rise, fires, and other modern-day disasters. Building code really do save lives. The campaign is presented by International Code Council and its 64,000 members, as Jay said, worldwide, along with the diverse partnership of professionals from building construction, design and safety communities, corporation, government agencies, professional association, nonprofit, and more are all coming together to support Building Safety Month because they understand the need for safe and sustainable structure where we live, work, and play. This year, weekly themes throughout the month will spotlight specific cases for building safety, including for week 1, which we passed last week, partnering with code officials to build stronger, safer communities. Week number 2, advancing resilient communities throughout science and technology. Week 3, protecting communities from disasters. Week 4, safeguarding our water. And at last, improving education and training standards for safer tomorrow. On behalf of Johnson County Planning Codes and Contract Licensing, I want to thank the Board of County Commissioners for their support of our department and the proclamation for Building Safety Month. And thank you all.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your leadership in this area, and thanks to all the staff who are involved in this very, very important area. Thank you very much.
Okay, is it better? I'm trying to hide it.
Thank you all very much. Thank you. Appreciate it, sir. You bet. And next, I'm going to ask Robert Sullivan, the Director of Corrections, and others who are with him to come to the podium. Sheriff, how are you? Hey, thanks for being here. Mr. District Attorney. And Mr. Thompson. We have a proclamation noting and celebrating Stepping Up Day for Action, May 16, 2018. I think some of you know that a couple of years ago, Johnson County was one of 4 counties nationwide who joined with the National Association of Counties adopting the Stepping Up program. Robert can tell us a little more, but it's an effort supported by public safety agencies within the county to our best ability, those who have mental illness to effort to keep them out of jail. And that's the essence of the program. And we have many people working in this area, including our Criminal Justice Advisory Council, which again is a volunteer from across the county in different agencies. So we have May 16, upcoming Wednesday, right? We'll have a special news conference at the Arts and Heritage Center. We were one of 4 to begin this effort, and now I think there are in excess of 300 or 400 counties across the country who have joined in this outstanding program. So this proclamation recognizes the efforts of many individuals in our county and citizens from across the county to support this important program. So, Robert, thank you very much, and all the others who are here this morning, and I'll let you make the introductions and any comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and thank you for this proclamation. Really appreciate this. The Chairman's correct. This has been an effort with, it's truly an example of intergovernmental collaboration. This effort represents city, county, and state efforts around this area, and I'm joined this morning by Assistant County Manager Maury Thompson, Judge Tim McCarthy, Sheriff Calvin Hayden, our Director of the Mental Health Center, Tim DeWeese, as well as our District Attorney, Steve Howe, and then our new Criminal Justice Coordinator, Dr. Alex Holsinger. And like the Chairman said, this initiative started in April of 2015. We were one of 4 jurisdictions to launch it. We were chosen back then because of all the work that our community had done in this area prior to 2015. And so we were one of 4, Sacramento, California, Washington, D.C., Miami-Dade County, Florida. So we were in good company. And since that time, there are over 400 counties that have joined this initiative. Since 2015, because of the collaborative efforts that our community has done to work on this particular issue, we've now been named one of 7 innovative counties to provide technical assistance to other jurisdictions across the country. And so on May 16th, we encourage all of you to come and hear more about the work that we've done since 2015 and before, so that we could be considered an innovator county. That's going to take place on March 16th at 11 o'clock at Arts and Heritage. I'm sorry, did I say May 16th? At Arts and Heritage Center in Overland Park. And we'd encourage all of you to come and hear more about the work that we've done.
Well, Robert, thank you very much. And, you know, we all should be very proud of the fact that we are one of 7 counties who have received the Innovative County designation. And that's because of the good work of all of those who are with us today, as well as many other volunteers in this effort. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Maury, did you have a comment?
I did. Thank you, Chairman. I want to take a point of personal privilege here to add on to this effort that the Chairman and Robert just shared a bit about. As I look at our criminal justice coordinator, one of the most essential roles that they have is to serve that quarterback function for our public safety work and mental health work that's done here in Johnson County. And as you know, Robert Sullivan has been filling that role for the past 3+ years. And over the last several months, he has not only continued to do that work, but taken on his new role as the Director of Corrections. So I want to take this opportunity to personally thank him for doing 2 jobs for a number of months. So he's very pleased having a new criminal justice coordinator here. But Robert has done some fantastic work in his 3+ years serving as our criminal justice coordinator. And I just want to mention a few of the accomplishments that he helped with during that time. He worked to expand the co-responder program here in Johnson County, which now includes 9 cities, and hopefully, with your approval, soon to include the Sheriff's Office here in Johnson County as well. The co-responder program has received a 2016 Achievement Award in the Criminal Justice and Public Safety category from the National Association of Counties, again, part of that national recognition. Robert also initiated our work with the University of Chicago through the Data Science for Social Good to work on machine learning and data analytics. And he worked to implement the brief mental health screen with the Sheriff's Office to assess everyone booked into our adult detention center for the prevalence of mental illness. And those are just a few. So again, my personal thanks to Robert for his great work and his 3+ years in that role. Speaking of national recognition, ironically, this morning before I came in, I was sorting through email. I had 2 things pop up in my email. I was reading this interesting webinar coming up. Value-based care continues to shape services for individuals with behavioral health and substance use treatment needs. While the need to receive whole-person care is no different for a justice-involved individual, the organizational needs for county health and justice systems vary greatly from that of human services organizations. I thought, wow, that sounds very interesting. I need to check into that. And I looked down with panelists from Johnson County, Kansas, Department of Corrections, the Johnson County Mental Health Center. So again, it was us providing that national webinar. So
It was interesting.
it was interesting. So I keep scrolling down in the inbox. There was something from the crime report mentioning Johnson County. Again, the good work being done here. So 2 examples just this morning of the national reputation being developed by these gentlemen here. Finally, this morning I want to take this opportunity then to introduce to you our newest criminal justice coordinator for Johnson County, Dr. Alex Holsinger. Some of you in the room may recognize Alex, but let me tell you a little bit about his background for those who don't know. Dr. Holsinger received his doctorate in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati in 1999. During his academic tenure, which includes 19 years on the faculty at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, he built his career around program and process evaluation at the local, state, and federal levels. Alex has published academic work, including more than 40 peer-reviewed articles, involves tests of the effectiveness of various forms of criminal justice interventions. He has also conducted research on the development and testing of risk, need, and responsivity assessments. In addition to this academic work, Alex has assisted government agencies at every level, including, most importantly, I would note, Johnson County for a number of years, with training and implementation of evidence-based practices in criminal justice case processing. He has been recognized by the American Probation and Parole Association, earning the Award in Corrections for contributions to the corrections field. And in 2015, he received the Legacy of Leadership Award from the Kansas City Metropolitan Crime Commission for contributions to public safety. So we are very pleased to have Dr. Holsinger formally joining Johnson County government to lead our efforts, and I know he'll take us to that next level that Robert built on as he assumed the reins from Risa Hannenberg, which many of you knew as well. So with that, Chairman, turn it back to you.
Well, Robert and Maury, thank you very much. And again, thanks to all of those who are involved in this very, very important effort. Dr. Holsinger, welcome. We're glad to have you on board. So, Robert, who gets the proclamation? And guys, come together. We need a photo of this distinguished group. So, thank you all for being here. We took a little bit longer this morning with those presentations, but important activities, important groups to recognize. At this time, we'll turn to the public comment portion of our agenda. If there's anyone present who would like to address the commission on an item which does not later appear on the agenda, welcome you to the podium, state your name and address, limit the comments to 5 minutes. We'll be glad to receive that information.
Good morning.
Mr.
Tom
Raby.
Raby, 17513 West 113th Street, Olathe. This bulge in my pocket is my property tax. I stopped downstairs on my way up, and there was a line, so I'll have to go on the way out. That's fine. And I guess I'm glad that we're observing Older Americans Month. But in 1965, I was not an older American. You can do the math. Maybe you can't do the math anymore. But it's nice to see the things that Johnson County does for handicapped and mentally challenged and older folks. But one of the things Johnson County can't do and doesn't seem to be very effective at is is putting the screws to the legislature to get some of the things enacted that other states do for older folks. Kansas used to have, and still does, a Homestead Act and a food sales tax rebate. Because I did taxes for 12 years after I retired, so that was some of my volunteer crap. And don't mind my choice of words, just the way I talk. But it's fine for those folks who are purely on Social Security and don't have anything else, because there's means testing. You've got to be pretty darn poor to get those two piddling little things from the state of Kansas. I went to the VA a few years back. I'm on Medicare, so I have coverage, so to speak. But I went to the VA. Well, I waited too long, because the VA, back sometime in the 90s, instituted means testing. So my household income was too high to get anything from the VA, even though it would be secondary to Medicare. These are some of the things that some older people run into. But the thing is, what price do we have to pay for success? And we talk about doing things for older folks and homeless people. There's a lot of move on now to help the homeless. Well, some of those homeless are older. And how did they get that way? Well, how did the older folks end up on Medicare or Medicaid when they've been productive citizens and have a retirement and everything else? Well, they end up with some disease or disability that forces them out of their homes and forces them into a Medicaid situation. And I have firsthand experience. My mother lived for 3.5 years in a nursing home, and her savings went in the first year and a half, and then her Social Security and pension paid only about a third of the cost for the rest of the time. So when she died, the state filed a lien against her holdings, which was fine. I mean, that's what she worked for. I didn't have a real quarrel with that, except that she wasn't deviant enough to move things around before the 5-year period started. And who the heck knows when the 5-year look-back period starts? You know, we could call the California consultant, or whatever they call those people who advertise on TV, psychics, who could tell you what date to start your 5-year look-back plan. You can't win. But these are some of the things that old people worry about. And we like living in Johnson County. And we could right now, my wife and I could still afford to move to warmer climate, but we don't. Lots of people do, because the environment for retired people in Kansas is not very friendly in terms of tax treatment and everything, unless you happen to be a Capers retiree and you get that nice, I don't have to pay state income tax on my pension type situation. And that is where we're at. That's the way I see it, and a lot of people I talk to see things the same way. We don't want to end up with more homeless, more old folks on Medicaid. That's just going to cause more and more shuffling of funds and more legislative entanglement. And some of these things could be solved up front, should be solved up front. And thank you for your time. Now, I'll leave you with this. There hasn't been any activity in the new courthouse property for the last month. Not a darn thing. I know you're probably waiting for the gold-plated shovels to arrive from the supplier. Thank you.
Good comments. Thank you, Mr. Ravy. I'll speak to the shovel here in a second.
Is it done?
Commissioner
Eiler and all the commissioners, the light bulb came on with all these dates, May 16th. So I just wanted to announce, I apologize, I do not have the details or information, but the unveiling of the Brown mural will be on the 17th of May and also on the 16th. If I can get any information, I will certainly email, if you're available. I know we're busy here in Johnson County, but that's being held in Topeka on May 16th and May 17th. Thank you for any consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Name for the record.
Is there anyone else? All right, the public comment portion of our agenda is concluded. As to the courthouse, there are several processes that need yet to go through. I think the Olathe Planning Commission, the Olathe City Council giving us the okay, and I think we're looking forward to a groundbreaking to use those shovels in June or July. Mr. Waters?
The end of May. Tomorrow.
I think I'll stick with June or July. I've been on the city council before, so, anyway.
Everything has to change.
Yeah, you're right. I do have a couple of notes for the record this morning. Pursuant to KSA 75-7044, Chief Judge Kelly Ryan appointed Lindsay Erickson as the practicing juvenile defense attorney representative to the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board through April 13, 2021. And pursuant to KSA 75-7044, Chief Judge Kelly Ryan appointed Kevin Waring as court service designee to the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board through June 30, 2020. That concludes notes for the record. Turning to the consent agenda, we have one item, and would the clerk please read that item?
Consider approving the April 19th, 2018 business session minutes.
Do I hear, are there any questions, additions, or corrections? Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes as noted. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Plicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eiler.
Aye. Motion carried. Item number 2 under the action agenda.
Resolution number WD 18-007, conduct a public hearing and consider authorizing funds for Johnson County wastewater infrastructure improvement projects in an amount not to exceed $1,334,171.44.
Ms. Pekarik, this is a public hearing. Public hearing is open.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioner. Susan Pekarik with Wastewater this morning. This is one of our multi-project briefing sheets. These are a group of projects that we bring to the Commission for consideration a couple times a year. I'll go through each section of the request this morning, and I can answer questions throughout, or I can pause at the end. The first section is for collection system asset renewal, and this request amount is $600,000. The projects that are included in this request have been identified through our asset management program that we have at Wastewater, and it's based on condition assessments as well as evaluations of risk of failure. In Wastewater, we actually inspect over 100 miles of our sanitary sewer pipe annually to assess the condition of our lines. And throughout that process, we identify lines and manholes that are in need of renewal by either repairing them, replacing them, or lining them with cured-in-place pipe. Johnson County Wastewater uses these funds, or will use these funds, for protecting also sanitary sewers that cross streams. The engineering services provided for these projects will be for consultants that were selected under the collection system asset renewal request for proposal process. Those firms are listed in the briefing sheet. They are Black & Veatch, George Butler Associates, HDR Engineers, Burns & McDonnell, and Trek. Procurement for the cured-in-place pipe will be provided by SAK, and they were selected in 2014 using a term and supply contract request for proposal process. And then lastly, for repair or sewer line renewal, we will utilize our term and supply contract with Wiedemann Incorporated, excuse me. The next item is for a vehicle purchase of a wheel loader. The requested amount is for $134,171.44. We perform sanitary sewer rehabilitation and repair, our staff does, and currently we don't own equipment that can lift the larger diameter manholes, so basically heavier loads. We've worked with Fleet. We've actually been working with Fleet, and Chris Butler is here in case you have any questions, but they've been working with us over the last year or so and continuing to do so to help us right-size our fleet and our equipment for maintenance of the system and for construction. This is a vehicle that we actually would use every day to help us load our equipment. Other alternatives that we have include that we could hire the work out. If you look at what it costs us to hire a contractor to do a manhole replacement versus us, there's about a 40% savings. There are times, though, I would highlight that we do need to hire this out. For example, when we have deep excavations, I can't say that word, or in emergency situations. Large vehicles have been included in our capital improvement budget, and this wheel loader would be purchased through a cooperative agreement through the Houston-Galveston Area Council, which is purchasing in this manner is allowed under our purchasing procedures. Board action for this item would authorize funding for the purchase of one wheel loader. The next item on the briefing sheet is for SCADA network communications improvements. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, and we utilize SCADA to help us monitor, operate, and alarm our wastewater systems. It's kind of a fancy word for we use computers to help us operate and know what's going on with our facilities. And that way we don't have to man them 24 hours a day. And so this request is to provide fiber to help us increase our network speeds and reliability for those communication systems to each of our facilities. The JCW fiber is dedicated and is not routed onto any other public or private networks. JCW works with the county's DTI department, and we utilize existing cooperative contracts that we have with the city of Olathe, or the city of Olathe actually has for doing work of this type. And then the last item is for asset management, and that requested amount is for $400,000. You may recall when we presented our capital improvement program at the end of March, we talked about the development of our facilities asset management plan. So this funding is to help us implement some of the initiatives that were developed under that plan. And those include customization of our computerized maintenance management system, improving data management process. In other words, we have a project where we're getting a bunch of new assets. We need to include those in our maintenance management system. We need to automate that process. And then also locating our underground assets at our treatment facilities. We have a great understanding and a great asset management program on our collection system outside of the fence of the treatment facilities, but now we're working on inside the fence. Funding under this request, I should say, was included in our capital improvement program in our financial plan that we presented to the board most recently last May in 2017. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two lines of question. First, Ms. Pekarik, on the SCADA network, we are using bond proceeds. It is my understanding that our bonds usually are for a period of up to 20 years, and you can give us assurances that these acquisitions will last at least that long. The quandary is paying bonds for something that has a shorter life cycle. I just wanted to make sure.
Right, and yes, we actually do have some fiber in the ground that's been in the ground more than 20 years at one of our treatment facilities, and I've talked with some of our technology folks, and I asked them, what are we going to be using for communications in the future, and it's still fiber, so yes, that's the plan.
Very good, thank you. I just want to make sure there weren't any servers or PCs or...
No, this is really for fiber.
Those throwaway iPhones anymore.
Right, so. Yeah, the 6-month phone, right, no.
The other question, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Pekarik, you and I visited briefly yesterday about the large vehicle loader, and today you added, and I appreciate your comments about acquiring this equipment would realize up to a 40% savings. So is that a full cost comparison? I'd be interested in learning more about that.
Sure, and yes, we've done those analyses in the past. We did a very simple comparison, just for the comments this morning, of a straight manhole replacement. So when you look at hiring a contractor versus us doing it, again, it has to be work that we would do. The deeper excavations, we typically hire that out anyway. So if you're just looking at a simple comparison, it's about a 40% savings.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Mr. Klicka?
Just to restate, this item here has been through a review process for the last year almost. Is correct through the CIP evaluations and the normal planning processes for wastewater.
The entire, or just the vehicle request?
The request that you're bringing, the total request.
The total, yes, this was part of the plan last year.
CIP program and so forth. Just for public information, that this thing is just not popping up. It's been reviewed for quite a while.
Correct, sir.
All right.
Any other questions? This is a public hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission on this item? There's no one to be heard. Public hearing is closed. The item is back for the commission. A motion is in order. Mr. Osterhaus.
I move that the board approve resolution number WD 18-007, authorizing funds for Johnson County wastewater infrastructure improvement projects in an amount not to exceed $1,334,171.44.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the resolution as noted for the wastewater improvements. Any further questions or discussion? There being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Item number 3.
Resolution number WD 18-017. Conduct a public hearing and consider authorizing funds for the construction phase of the Indian Creek Middle Basin, Contract 28, Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin Wastewater Treatment Facility, Building 2, Building 6, and Chlorine Chamber Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,407,000.
Ms. McCarrick, public hearing is open.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Susan Pekarik again with Wastewater. This request is for the construction phase of improvements at the Douglas Smith Middle Basin facility. It's located at College Boulevard and 69 Highway. We have a map up on the screen for you. So College Boulevard's running along the north and 69 Highway is running along the west side of the facility. You can see the facility's outlined by that yellow boundary there. Previously, we've had studies and evaluation that have identified these improvements that are needed. We're needed at 2 of our buildings, 2 structures, and we're doing some site work. Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to scroll ahead there. So at Building 2, which is located right here in the facility, Building 2, we need to do some concrete repairs. Some structural concrete has corroded. We have some chemicals in that building that we use as part of the process, and so we need to do repair there. In addition, we need to do some odor control and HVAC improvements to that building. Building 6, located in the middle of the site there, it contains the odor control fans from which we're drawing all of the odorous air from various parts from the site. And those fans need to be upsized to meet the larger demand as part of the work that we're doing in Building 2. The chlorine mix chamber, which is located down here in the corner, that's actually mixing the disinfection chemicals that we utilize under wet weather conditions for these lagoons down here. There needs some constructional concrete improvements are needed there as that's corroded over the years. And then lastly, we've got some digester cover, got that little digester circled here. The cover over that digester has some corrosion as well, so we're going to make improvements. And then across the site, we've got some sidewalk replacement and storm drain improvements that we need to make. We bid the construction project on March 26th. The next item is award of the contract. Again, this project was included in that most recent financial plan we presented last May.
Okay.
We have any
questions by the Commission? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Pekarik, we've had conversations starting to grow concerning the Nelson facility and its future. I was wondering if you had any short observations about this facility and its future. I take it's not as critical, but these are fairly significant upgrades. What are you envisioning for this facility, say, over the next, say, 10-plus years?
Normal asset renewal at this facility. We've actually, between 2007 and 2011, we did a tremendous amount of renewal at this facility, expanding to treat all the flow from this area as well as the solids capacity. The main thing that we've got that could happen at this particular treatment facility is that wet weather improvements could be made, but that's all part of our continued effort to work with our regulatory body, our regulatory agencies, I should say, to make sure that we can prioritize our projects. Nelson obviously would be a priority. Does that make sense?
Well, and that was what I was hoping you'd mention. But you feel that, at least for the time being, the EPA is working with us on this, and you're not seeing major expectations of changing that over the next 10 years or so?
At this point, no.
Okay.
We actually have a permit at this treatment facility, which has been put in place, so I think that's a very positive sign that we're able to get that.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
I think this facility was built in the 80s.
It was, correct.
Nelson is about 70 or 75 years old, so big difference. Any other questions? All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone present would like to address the commission on this item, welcome to the podium. All right, if there's no one to be heard, public hearing is closed. It's back before the commission. A motion would be in order. Mr. Klicka?
I move that the Board of County Commissioners authorize a contract with Crosslands Heavy Contractors to construct the Indian Creek Middle Basin Contract 28 Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin Wastewater Treatment Facility, Building 2, Building 6, and Chlorine Chamber Improvement Project in the amount, it's the wrong one. I'm jumping ahead here.
Let's do number 3.
Let's see.
All in favor?
Yeah. I've read all of these. It's
Mr. Schaefer,
017.
do you?
Yeah, okay, here it is. Thank you. Getting the right one. Sorry, Susan. I move that the board adopt resolution number WD 18-17 authorizing funds for the construction phase of the Indian Creek Middle Basin Contract 28. I got that right this time. Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin Wastewater Treatment Facility, Building 2, Building 6, and a chlorine chamber improvement project in an amount not to exceed $1,407,000. At least there's no cents in this one.
Okay. Motion is before us, the correct one. And Mr. Schaefer has the second. Is there any further questions or discussion? All right, there being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. Number 4.
Invitation for bid number 2018-010. Consider authorizing a contract with Crossland Heavy Contractors Incorporated to construct the Indian Creek Middle Basin Contract 28, Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin Wastewater Treatment Facility Building 2, Building 6, and Chlorine Chamber Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,071,000.
Ms. McCary?
Good morning. Susan Pekarik with Wastewater again. This item is a companion to the previous item and is a request for contract award for this facility improvements at Douglas Smith Middle Basin Facility. The project was advertised in the Olathe News, and it was posted on the county's electronic bidding site, Ion Wave, as well as on Drexel Technologies Plan Room. A mandatory pre-bid for the project was held on March 5th so that we could discuss the details of the project with prospective bidders. The project bids were opened on March 26th. 6 bids were received. The low bidder was Crossland Heavy Contractors, and their bid amount was $1,071,000. The design engineer reviewed the contractor's bid and their qualifications, and they recommend awarding the contract to Crossland Heavy Contractors. Wastewater agrees with that recommendation. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McCarrick, a couple of questions. Looks like you got good response from interested bidders. Are these all firms that we have used regularly, or I'll say routinely, but that you're familiar with, or were there any new ones in here? And are you comfortable with the low bidder, the Crossland heavy contractors? I see that the consulting engineer recommended them, but I wanted to ask you.
Correct. We are familiar with all of these bidders. I think almost all of them have done work for us at some point in the past. We are comfortable with Crossland and with Crossland's bid. Crossland's actually completed a couple of projects for us within the last 5 years.
Very good.
And we've been very happy with those.
Very good. I often ask the question about engineering estimate, and you and I met yesterday, and you educated me a little bit about the process you use, and I believe you called it a probable cost estimate?
Mm-hmm. Opinion of probable cost.
Opinion of probable cost.
Mm-hmm.
Could you elaborate on that just a little bit in terms of what that means and how you use that?
Sure. So the opinion of probable cost is something that we have the design engineer develop typically at different phases of design. The idea is that once you start, we have a budget that we establish usually after the study, or with the study, I should say. And then we want to make sure through the process of design that we check in on what the cost is going to be. And so that can be at different phases, one about 30%, 60%, 90%. We usually do one toward the end of design between 90 and 95%. Again, before we go out to bid, we want to see if we're in the place we need to be, or if we need to provide any scope reductions. And so that's what we've done here.
And did this one fit into those expectations?
It did, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. McCarrick, how does the opinion of probable cost differ from an engineer estimate, definition-wise? What is the difference between those two terms?
So the way we define it is an engineer's estimate is something that they would prepare on bid day. So they are, in essence, doing the same thing the bidders are doing. We haven't been doing those for a while because, again, we evaluate essentially on each project whether or not that's needed. That's just an additional cost to our project. And in most cases, the last 24 hours, what I know of the bidding process, and you can certainly share more, but what I know of the bidding process is in that last 24 hours, there are a lot of things changing. It's depending on, the contractor's buying power, what your backlog is.
There are things changing in the last 24 seconds.
24 seconds even,
So,
okay, very good. So, it's an additional cost to the project that we don't always do. The idea is that we want to make sure we know that we're going to be coming within the range of our budget when we're going out to bid, so.
So it's an updated, as you move along the process versus an engineer estimate at the end?
Correct.
On a cumulative cost. Thank you.
Correct, yes.
Any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion? Mr. Schaefer?
Thank you. Make sure I get the right one, okay? I wasn't ready.
Coordinated that this time.
Yeah, let me make sure. Number 4, right? Okay, right. I move that the Board of County Commissioners authorize a contract with Crossland Heavy Contractors, Inc. to construct the Indian Creek Middle Basin Contract 28, Douglas L. Smith Middle Basin Wastewater Treatment Facility Building Number 2, Building 6, and Chlorine Chamber Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $1,071,000 per invitation to bid number 2018-010.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the contract award to Crossland in regards to the Indian Creek Middle Basin Douglas L. Smith plant. Any further questions or comments, Mr. Ashcraft?
Just one question, Mr. Chairman. Ms. McCarrick, could you share with us what the opinion was? I mean, did it fall within this range, please?
It did. At 90% design, the opinion of probable cost was $1.3 million. So most of the bids, except for one, I believe, were less than that. And so we feel comfortable that we have good numbers here.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. No further questions. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, number 5.
Resolution number 020-18, application SE-CU-3376AU. Consider a request from Jeff Slovorich Applicant, Red Oak Landscaping and JLD Land Company LLC, landowner, for conditional use permit renewal for outdoor storage on 2 acres located at 20978 Floyd Street on property zone PEC 3, Planned Light Industrial Park District in Section 18, Township 15, Range 25.
Mr. Leipzig.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Leipzig, Planning Development Codes. This item on Floyd Street is brought to you as it was approved unanimously by the Southeast Consolidated Zoning Board on April 4th, 2018 for an outdoor storage facility. It was a conditional use permit originally approved in 2007. The applicant is requesting a 20-year approval, and the zoning board is consistent. They're also recommending approval of a 20-year approval. Staff is also comfortable with a 20-year approval as well. I wanted to show one slide just because it shows you, generally I don't like to show aerial photographs or aerial pictures for planning items, but this shows you the condition of the yard. There have been no code violations ever on this property, and so it's well maintained and appears to be in very good condition.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Mr. Klicka.
Jay, could you clarify, you said that originally this thing started with a 10-year request, or
15 years,
and it's,
yes.
or 15, and you're recommending 20-year.
Yes, that's correct.
That seems to be a little bit of different position of the planning department compared to previous recommendations. What's making you feel comfortable about that?
I think I would say just the overall condition of the property, how well it's been maintained over the years, and that is why I don't have any reservations in doing that. We looked at the history of the property, of any even not only code violations, but any alleged complaints coming from anyone, and there were none.
Well, I appreciate it because it reduces a certain amount of back and forth here with the property owners, so I appreciate you all favorably considering that.
Okay, any other questions? Is the applicant present? Any comments you'd like to make?
I am here, but I have no comment.
All right, is there anyone who would like to address the commission on this item? Being no one to be heard is back before the commission. The motion is in order. Mr. Klicka?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt resolution number 020-18 approving conditional use permit renewal for the outdoor storage at 2978 Floyd Street for the reasons and subjects to the stipulations set forth within the resolution.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the resolution and the recommendation in regards to the request. Any further questions? No comments? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka.
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus.
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye, motion carried. Next item, number 6.
Resolution number 022-18 and resolution number 023-18. Application numbers SE-PEC3-3379 AU, SE-PDP FDP-3378 AU, and SE-CU-3380 AU. Consider a request from Stonegate Motor Plaza, Joe Efforts, applicant, and Joseph Efforts Farms, LLC, landowner, for rezoning from RUR Rural District to PEC-3 Planned Research, Development, and Light Industrial Park District, a preliminary and final development plan for construction of an expanded motor vehicle test track, and a conditional use permit for the use of an expanded motor vehicle test track on an 80-acre site located near the northwest corner, 207th Street and Metcalf Avenue.
Jay.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jay Leipzig, Planning Development Codes. This item is located at 207th Street and Metcalf. The staff's been working with the applicant for quite some time to bring this to you. Their first phase was already previously approved. This is an expansion of the motor vehicle test track. The county did utilize a sound expert to conduct some calculations and look at the potential impacts of the expanded track. And The summary of that report is that it might increase the noise level by 2 decibels, which is a fairly minimal amount related to a conversation between two people. Staff is recommending approval. This item was brought before the Southeast Zoning Board on April 4th, 2018, and the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Leipzig, all due respect to the expertise of the sound judge, did we reach out to area residents to see if they had any objections, and if so, did they express any concerns?
Commissioner Ashcraft, we did provide our standard notification process. At the zoning board, there was one person there at the zoning board meeting, but he didn't speak on that particular item. So we've gone through our normal notification process. If there is, if need be, the applicant is willing to proceed with in terms of meeting intentionally with the neighbors, but at this point, we don't believe that's necessary.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because occasionally people say, well, you didn't notify us, we didn't know, and so forth. And I wanted to make sure we have taken those steps. Thank you.
Yeah, we do always try to be very cautious on these things with land use.
Mr. Klicka, did you have a comment, question?
Yes. This is probably in my district one of the one project that has probably been evaluated, dissected, analyzed, probably more than anything else I've experienced over the last, Joe, has it been about 4 years or more? Question I have for you is, number one, and Jay, you may respond to the stipulations that are set forth, you're all right with? Okay. And the next question I have, when is this going to get done?
Perhaps the applicant can address that.
Joe Effort, Stillwell, Kansas. It'll get done. I mean, this is the major hurdle. I have a lot of people that are interested in investing in this project. There's a lot of demand for it. People want to get off, the highways and into a safer environment, which this is. But it's also something based on past experience where you don't go out and raise a bunch of money until you know you can do it. So it's as simple as that. So I would like to think that as soon as we get the permit for ground disturbance, we'll be building it.
Okay.
And Jay, is this the last hurdle for Mr. Everett as he decides to get the track developed and his program moving forward?
Yes, Commissioner, that is correct.
All right, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready, I'll be happy to make a motion.
Any other questions? Any other comments the applicant would like to make?
I think I made this last time, but just to reiterate it, the major reason for the expansion to the north was simply we're trying to cram too much into the area to the south, and so this is a much safer design.
Okay. Any questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission on this item? Come to the podium.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Joe Shalonsky.
Sure. Can you speak into the mic? We can hear you
Sorry.
better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes. My name is Joe Shalonsky. I own property at 210th and Metcalf on the east side. It's directly across from the where that Red Oak development it was just approved for. And I was at the zoning board meeting because of the Red Oak project. And that's the first I was notified about the test track. So at that time, I said, well, I'm concerned about the sound level of this because 95 dB is a very considerable sound. And at the meeting, I said something like, well, how loud is it? And the sound expert said, well, it's like standing behind a jet engine. So I made me a little concerned, but so I talked to a few of the neighbors and directly across in the estates there, And most of them didn't even realize what was going on. They said, well, I guess it's going to be racing maybe twice a month or something, and some of them didn't even know about it. So I'm a little concerned that the sound level might be something that they're not expecting to hear, you know. I said, well, it's going to be every day, you know, and morning till evening, you know, so they didn't realize that. So as far as the use of the land, I don't know about that, but my biggest concern is on the sound, if it's going to be, if you're going to get a lot of complaints on that. So that's my only concern, is the sound level and what can be done if it is too loud. Is there any recourse? So.
Okay,
anyway,
all right,
anyway.
thank you. Is there anyone else? Jay, could you speak to that sound test?
Yeah, I can tell you that one of the advantages in this, I think this question was brought up last week about a conditional use permit, and one of the things that staff can use is, there is a stipulation, it has to be less than 95 decibels. A conditional use permit gives us additional regulations or stipulations. It's easier to enforce that if it does go over. Mr. Efforts has agreed to monitor that as part of the conditions of the conditional use permit to make sure it does not exceed that. So that's something that we will randomly check as well, so that it that is not a problem. If potentially if there are complaints, those will certainly be part of the record for the conditional use permit. There might be some other things that could be done if need be to muffle that sound, such as, without looking at the site plan, for instance, berming perhaps, and berming works very well to muffle some of those noise issues.
Okay, and what are the requirements as far as the noise?
It has to be less than 95 decibels, and
Okay.
the other stipulation is no more than 2 cars on the track at any one time, and those are monitored.
All right, Mr. Osterhaus.
Jay, can you address the usage issue? Is that all day, every day?
If you don't mind, Commissioner, I might add Mr. Efforts address that for you.
Okay.
Can you repeat that?
The question was about the usage. The gentleman had just mentioned that it was going to be used all day, every day. And I didn't know if you could talk some about the hours of operation and the planned usage.
Sure. The hours of operation are essentially, depends on the season, but there's no lighted lights other than safety lights, but no lights for like night driving. So it's basically dawn to dusk, with the exception of Sunday. So no driving on Sunday mornings until after lunch. And, as far as the, how often it'd be used, it's kind of like booking a tee time at a golf course. So if there's people that want to drive, then it'll be available. I can't, I would like to think that it would be booked frequently, but I can't say for sure.
Okay.
But that's, like a golf course, I guess. And the other thing is about the 95 decibels, that's the sound if you were, the maximum sound if you were actually standing on the track. So as you go farther away from this 160-acre field, that dissipates quite readily.
Thank you.
Mr. Klicka.
Relative to the noise, Jay, issue, I think we've had 3 different outside firms evaluate the noise levels and potentials, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So it's not just a staff review or Mr. Everett's review. It's we've brought outsiders to do that, and also to evaluate some of the other tracks that are actually in operation. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
As far as public notice and knowledge, I know this project has been, is it literally about 4 years? And Jay, that's coming from your standpoint, and at that point, the public has been constantly brought forward with this in the neighbors and so forth. So that has been there?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we haven't
verified all the notification procedures from the beginning of the project.
Thank you, sir.
All right, is there anyone else? If not, it's back before the commission. Mr. Ashcraft?
Mr. Chairman, a question of process, because this comes up from time to time about sound levels and expert testimony. And it's a valid point that was made about the 95 decibels if you're on the track. But are there any protocols or standards that we've ever considered to give a sense of what the sound is, say, at the nearest residence or the nearest public access, to give some comparison? Because, yeah, standing behind a jet plane, it's pretty loud, but if you're a half mile away, it's not so much. And depending on where people live, and I know there are lots of things that impact that, but I would just offer that as an observation for you to consider when we do these going forward. I'm not suggesting you do that now, but residents do, from time to time, dispute that, and I don't have a good frame of reference.
Commissioner, the sound consultant that the county had utilized for this project is Bob Coffeen. Is here in the audience if Bob wants to address that. But there was some discussion about that, about looking at that sound level from different points in the track and how that is dissipated and how quickly the sound dissipates, depending on how far away you are from the vehicle.
Right.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, do I hear a motion?
Yes, Mr.
Mr. Clicken?
I move to adopt resolution number 022-18 approving PEC-3 Plan Research Development and Light Industrial Park District zoning and the associated preliminary and final development plan to allow the construction of an expanded motor vehicle test track for the reasons and subject to the stipulations set forth within the resolution. And I further move to adopt resolution number 023-18 approving a conditional use permit to allow the use of an expanded motor vehicle test track for the reasons and subject to the stipulations set forth within the resolution.
Do I hear second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the resolution and the application as noted. Any further discussion? All right, there being none, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye, motion carried. Are there any other items on the action agenda?
No, sir.
Moving to reports and communications, Ms. Post Oak Ferguson.
Chairman and Commissioners, you have 7 items before you today. 3 of them are IRBs and 3 of them are TIF project plans. All 6 of them are for notice. The board may comment but take no further action. First one is the City of Edgerton will conduct a public hearing Thursday, May 10th, 2018 at 7 p.m. regarding the proposed issuance of the city of its industrial revenue bonds in the approximate principal amount of $100 million for the benefit of Wellsville Farms, Kubota project. It's phase 2, it's within phase 2 of the Logistics Park KC. The applicant has requested a 10-year, 100% property tax abatement. There was also a payment in lieu of tax at approximately equal to $320,000. The next one is the City of Bonner Springs, IRB. They will hold a public hearing on Monday, May 14th, 2018 at 7:30 to consider the issuance of the city by the city of the IRBs in the approximate principal amount of $2,201,385 for the benefit of JAG Properties, to consider the granting of a tax exemption on property acquired with the proceeds of the bonds. It'll be applied for the finance costs of constructing and equipping an approximately 16,000 square feet warehouse and office facility, and for building improvements on property generally located south of the company's existing facility at 4011 Bonner Springs Industrial Drive. Also included is up to 50% of the taxes, payment in lieu of tax for that portion that would otherwise be due and payable for the first 10 years of the bonds after the bonds are issued. The next one is the City of Olathe, IRBs. They'll hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 15th, 2018 at 7 p.m. regarding the proposed issuance of the city's IRBs in the principal amount of $17 million for purchasing, constructing, installing, and equipping one or more industrial facilities located at 19968 West 157th Street, west of 169, and approximate amount of $6,500,000. The applicant has requested a 10-year, 50% property tax abatement with this one as well. The next three are with the City of Lenexa, and all three are a notice of public hearing to be held on Tuesday, June 5th, 2018, 7 p.m. All three are within the City Center TIF district. The first one is Plan 1H, the Kiewit Building Project. The second one is, and that's in the general city center area near the City Hall area. The next two are actually on the east side of 435, just south of 87th Street Parkway. One of them is redevelopment TIF project Plan 5A, Sonoma Point Multifamily Project, and the other one is Plan 5B, Sonoma Plaza Retail Center. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Questions? Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Postock Ferguson, on the Edgerton project, does the county receive any of that payment in lieu of taxes payment? Do we get a portion of that?
Yes, my understanding is that that is distributed with the same formula that property tax would be. Is that correct, Don?
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else, thank you.
All right, turning to commission comments, Mr. Schaefer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Had a chance to attend, an honor to attend a very important function yesterday morning, along with several of our staff members, and also Commissioner Allen was there. It was celebration of the American Association of American Society of Public Administrators. They're celebrating this week, their week this week. 7 awards were presented to various individuals around our region, and the final recipient was our own past county manager, Hannes Zacharias. He received the L.P. Cookingham Award. We want to thank him for the work he did for our county when he was there, and also congratulate him on receiving this award. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clickham.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I just want to call out to some friends of mine, the Kincaid family. They will be doing a groundbreaking on a new building, a new headquarters that will take place, Mike, in your district there. They're moving from Wyandotte County to Johnson County, and it will be about a $15 million headquarters that will be there. And I'd like to call out to them and congratulate them. And the groundbreaking is set for either Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday of next week.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ashcraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I wanted to share that I'm very proud today, but there's a bit of intrepidation. My daughter graduated from the Johnson County Community College Regional Police Academy and began work with the Olathe Police Department as a sworn officer in earnest Monday, and I'm just tremendously proud of her. Although I am a father, and there is that moment of hesitation. If you have to be a police officer anywhere in the world, I can't imagine it being better than Johnson County, but I'm still a dad. And I wanted to add to that, Maury Thompson was there, but Sheriff Hayden spoke, and the sheriff's not here, so I hope he's listening in, because the sheriff's comments were exceptionally on point about the strenuous that police officers and their families feel with the worry and uncertainty of even the most common and ordinary events escalating quickly and unfortunately. So, Sheriff Hayden, thank you for those comments. They meant a lot to me as a father of a new police officer. So thank you, Cal, wherever you may be.
Allen, Mr. Allen.
Yes, I just want to second Commissioner Schaefer's comments on the award ceremony yesterday. Very well attended. Actually knew several other award winners, but Hannes looked great from my perspective, and he did mention that he did take a position with the University of Kansas starting in the fall teaching, but it was a very nice program.
Okay, Mr. Osterhaus.
I've got a few things. Monday was our vote canvass. Everything went smoothly there, but had an opportunity to look at some of the new voting machines. And so there'll be some slight changes, but a paper ballot trail, which a lot of people were interested in, and I know that's an important issue to people. So we'll have some of those, and they'll be rolling out, and I think our staff will have a more formal announcement about that. Also, JCERT was on Monday, and I serve at the board's pleasure for JCERT. Some really great things going on. KU's Edward campus enrollment is up in almost every single department, so a lot of great opportunities there. Same thing with K-State and Olathe. But then in Fairway, the Cancer Center there, they had their first start to finish development and testing of a new drug for bladder cancer. And I didn't know this, but for 40 years, we in America have treated bladder cancer the same way for 40 years, and there's been no new development. And so this one at KU's Cancer Center was the first one in 40 years, so I thought that was amazing. I want to thank Tanner Fortney, who got back to me on the question I asked last week about workforce development and our partnership with mental health, and I'm glad to hear that that's going to happen and will be strong. And finally, one of our deputies, Deputy Klepak, won a silver award at the Kansas Association of Sheriffs for his service to our community and the state. So congratulations to him. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Chairman. A few items echoing Commissioner Osterhouse's comments about the vote canvass. I take that very serious, and I know we all do. It's an important part of what we're charged with carrying out duties for, and I enjoy doing that. Yesterday, attended Veterans Court graduation. That's I believe the third or fourth time I've been to the graduation ceremony. Every time I come in the door, and I think, okay, this time. Now I've got this figured out. And then each time somebody stands up and starts to talk and their voice cracks as they're expressing appreciation for their second chance. And then it gets hard for everybody in the room, and it's a very proud moment. I greatly enjoy going to those graduation ceremonies, and for any commissioner that may not have ever attended one, I encourage you to go. It's eye-opening to go and sit there and listen to that and listen to those men and women. Additional item, tornado sirens. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, that bad weather was looming. Spring is upon us. I heard from several constituents concerns, not just my constituents, but other folks in the county too, about the sirens not being on some kind of a cohesive plan, that there's some methodology. So there is some growing concern about, there is an understanding, incorrectly, from the folks that I talked to, that the county operates the siren system in total. And it is my understanding that we don't operate the system, that it's city by city. And when I explained it that way, each person that I spoke with was most interested in the county taking the responsibility for managing that piece. So I knew Maury would be excited to hear that.
He's going to pay for it.
Well, yeah, the sirens are owned by the cities.
Yes,
in many cases.
I understand. Only passing on what I heard. So
I understand.
And then on just a shout out to our maintenance staff at the whole county, but specifically in this building. I never fail to walk through this building and see. I am a businessman, and I owned a janitorial company and operated it for many years. So I have an eye for when things are being cleaned and done well, and when they're not, and when people are being efficient. It never. I'm always impressed to walk through our building and see the condition that it's in, and to see that staff is never wasted motion, and that is impressive. They all do a really good job, and I do my best to tell them that when I see them. So that's all. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I have one item and then two or three small items. I've copied commissioners with information from the Enterprise Center's Board of Directors meetings yesterday. And the board wants to move forward with adopting a program called Foundation Innovation Fund, a rather unique approach to providing funding for startup companies that reach certain points which may not qualify for traditional or even angel investor programs. They've created an LLC. I am the Commission's representative to that board. We'll be signing that document, but I wanted the information to be presented to the board and get your affirmation of that. It's supported by many regional economic chamber and even Kauffman Foundation, and it's rather unique in the fact that it will be funded by charitable contributions. So if there's any member of the board who would like to make a contribution, you can take it off your tax returns, but that's it. Enterprise Center will benefit directly from any of the successes of this fund, but you as an investor will not. So you can make another contribution next year and get a tax deduction. So I'm going to ask for affirmation of my participation as a board member. Could I hear a motion, Mr.
Yes,
Allen?
I would move for approval of endorsing the foundation's request.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any further questions or discussion, Mr. Ashcraft?
Just for clarification, Mr. Chairman, the county has no liability in...
No.
Okay, thank you.
This is a limited liability
Mr. Chairman?
corporation, which will be formed by the Enterprise Center.
Well, I realize Commissioner Ashcraft has asked that question. I'll tell you, I'm very, very tickled with what they're doing over here. And sometimes these are cases once in a while where I personally don't have a problem putting in $5 if it's going to generate $100 or something like that for the benefit of these small business startups. But in any event, I'm real pleased with the efforts that they're taking, because this is a part of that, the startup and entrepreneurship portion that usually gets lost. And to sustain these programs that they're trying to deal with, by finding a way to deal with this, it's going to help. And I appreciate the efforts.
Okay, well, again, the objective is to raise $5 million. And many times we look at funding. Can we make that up here on, many times we ask the value of the investments we make in agencies. So if you're talking about leveraging dollars that we put into the Enterprise Center, I think they're doing a great job. So, clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Aye.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Klicka?
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus?
Aye.
Commissioner Ashcraft?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye. Motion carried. We do have a committee of the whole scheduled for 11 a.m. In regards to Johnson County Fire District Number 2. Mr. Jarrett, let me ask you this. We are at that time period. We do have agenda review. Can we move to the committee of the whole and then come back to agenda review?
Certainly.
Let me ask you if there's individuals present specifically for any agenda review item. Okay, all right. Well, I think that's what we'll do, because there may be folks here for the committee of the whole at 11 a.m. So we will move to that and then follow the committee of the whole with the agenda review. We also have a committee of the whole scheduled for 1 p.m. this afternoon, and that will be to have further discussions with departmental budgets. And a quick reminder that next Tuesday, May 15 at 1 p.m., again, we have a committee of the whole for further budget discussions. Again, that's next Tuesday at 1 p.m. There are no other items. We do not have a request for an executive session, so we are adjourned from the business session, and we'll take a very quick break and come back for the committee of the whole meeting. Thank you.